Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswati Ji.
Welcome, everyone, to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. I love my family and I know they love me, but when I'm around them, I feel that they are sucking the energy out of me. I try to stay upbeat and lighthearted, but it's a struggle as they're so critical and judgmental. What advice can you give? Just because we love people doesn't necessarily mean that it's always the right thing to do to be in their presence or to be in their presence in a specific way. Let's imagine for a moment that you have a brother or a child who has autism or is somewhere on the autism spectrum. Now, when people have autism or are on the autism spectrum, what you see frequently is that there will be movements that are not necessarily emotionally driven. So they will sometimes maybe hit their head against a wall, hit their head against the ground, bang their hands against the wall, ground or the wall, hit people. In most cases, not actually coming out of anger, but just coming out of different aspects of that illness. Without going into those details, what we look at is a child who is harming himself or herself or harming people around him. Now let's say you go up to this brother or child and with all the love in your heart, you put a hand on their shoulder. And he turns around and he goes, bam, and hits you in the face. Now, you're not going to hate him. You're not going to feel like a victim. You're not going to wonder, how can you be hurting me so much? You understand this child is sick. If it's a family member, you love them anyway, of course. Our love doesn't dissipate because someone has a particular disorder or a particular illness or a particular challenge. And yet, what we know is going up, particularly from behind, and putting my hand on his shoulder, even though I do it with all the love in my heart, is an act that leads to me getting punched in the nose. Therefore, I don't do that anymore. Doesn't mean I love him any less. Doesn't mean I feel like the victim. But it means that due to the challenges that he is going through, his reaction to me touching him on the shoulder with love is to spin around and hit me. Many of them are touch aversive. They don't want to be touched. Doesn't mean we love them any less. Doesn't mean they love us any less. Just means that they're not able to give and receive love in exactly the same way that we are used to. Now, I bring this up with other family members because it's easy for us to know that when we have a family member who is obviously diagnosably ill or suffering from a diagnosable ailment. It's harder with the rest of the time. But when people are negative, when people are constantly judgmental, when people have glasses on that sees the world as out to get them or out to get others, it's also a state of dis-ease. And when people hurt us, what we have to remember is we only can share that which we have. These air conditionings can only give cold air. Summer days, it's great, it feels wonderful. Winter days, it gives us pneumonia. It's not the air conditioner's fault, though. That's all it has. That's all it can give. We don't hate the air conditioner. We don't have to go into therapy because we stood too close and we ended up getting pneumonia and oh my God, that air conditioner had it in for me. But what we know is, in the wintertime, we don't stand that close. It's not good for our health. And when we have people around us who are causing pain, exuding coldness, literally, emotionally, it's because that's all they have, like the air conditioner. And so what we know is, we don't love them any less. We don't have to go into therapy to feel like the victim of their cold vibrations. And yet, we don't want to stand too close when we are susceptible. At a time in our life when we're in a particular mood, when we're going through difficulty, when we're stressed, when we need love, there's some times that we can handle people's negativity. There's some times we can handle people's criticism. We're feeling very grounded, very anchored, very strong inside. There's other times we can't handle it so well. And at those times, we need to be sure to take care of ourselves. And it doesn't mean we love them any less. Doesn't mean that we, go out and try to hunt down and kill all the air conditioners or start a petition against air conditioners. But it just means that we know at this moment, my immune system's a little low. I shouldn't stand so close. And when people are critical and hurtful and judgmental and mean, just because they're our family, just because we love them, just because they love us, doesn't mean that we have to stand close enough that their negativity hurts us. In an ideal world, in an ideal spiritual practice, we stay so grounded, so anchored, so connected that it doesn't matter. Our metaphoric immune systems are so robust that we can stand in front of the air conditioner in the middle of freezing January and still not get sick. Like the Buddhist monks who sit in the snow and dry, cold towels on their shoulders because they've learned how to mobilize the inner energy so much that sitting naked in the snow, they can generate so much inner energy that they actually can dry wet towels. Most of us aren't there. If you place most of us naked in the snow with a cold wet towel on our shoulders, we're going to have pneumonia long before we're able to dry that towel. But it's important to hold out, to remember what the goal is. The goal is to get there. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. But also to be honest with where we are on the path. And at times when we're robust, great. No problem. But at times when we're not feeling so robust, it's important to protect ourselves. And if our family members or friends or colleagues or neighbors are constantly criticizing us and judging us and being negative, it's important to protect ourselves from that. whether literally creating physical distance, or whether just creating an emotional sort of safe inner area. The equivalent of a wetsuit. You know, if you're going to go in the ocean and it's cold and you put on a wetsuit, well, you're still in the ocean, but you don't catch cold. And there's all sorts of beautiful ways meditatively with inner rituals to just protect ourselves with an emotional and spiritual wetsuit to enable us to move through the world. Because the answer is not how many situations can I cut myself out of. I'm in peace, I'm in bliss. Don't come too close to me. I'm able to be in peace and bliss only if no one gets too close, only if no one asks anything of me, only if no one pushes my buttons. Well, that's fine temporarily. You know, you plant a young sapling, and while the tree is growing, it needs a tree guard around it to protect it from little animals as well as big animals. But ultimately, the goal is the tree should grow, the tree should become strong, the roots should be so deep in the ground that, even an elephant comes and starts, hitting the tree, and it's able to stay firm. So this is what our spiritual practice does, and we all go through phases and times when we feel very much like the sapling that needs the tree guard, and we need to be in a safe, protected place. But the goal ultimately is to be strong enough and grounded enough and centered enough that we can be anywhere, be in any situation, because as we all know, wherever you are, there's stress. Wherever you are, there's negativity. Wherever you are, there are people who are critical. And if we have to go through our lives pushing them away, then pushing them away, then pushing them away, then running from here, running from there, we find ourselves just running. And as Pujya Swamiji always says, wherever you go, there you are. You take yourself with you. So how can we get ourselves so positive that whatever the energy is around us, we're able to diffuse that? Yeah, people give us energy, but we also exude energy. Yeah, the AC is blowing cold air, but I'm blowing so much hot air that I'm going to give that air conditioner a run for its money. That's ultimately the goal. But in the meantime, sometimes we need to just take care of ourselves and protect ourselves from whatever dis-ease people around us are going through. That's why ashrams were created.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Alaya, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. We are told not to feed our desires for sex, alcohol, drugs, etc. But what about our desire to be close to God? Also, when we feel that connection and bliss, isn't that feeding our human need for satisfaction of our desires? Okay. So one of the very common topics that we talk a lot about in Satsang is desires. And how do we become free of our desires? How do we become freed from that? It's not the desires themselves that are the problem. Desires are wonderful. Your desire to be here in Rishikesh is what has brought you to Rishikesh. Your desire to be on the banks of Ganga, to have an experience of inspiration, is what brought you here. Your desire to experience spirituality and divinity is what made you come to Aarti instead of just go sit in a coffee shop and have a cup of tea or coffee and chat with friends. Desires are actually the energy that moves us. If we don't have a desire, why get out of bed in the morning? If there's no desire for anything at all, nobody would ever get out of bed. Or if we did, we would do it merely out of habit. And as we all know, the point of our lives is to do it with awareness and consciousness, not just on autopilot. So why do we get out of bed? We get out of bed because we have desires. On a spiritual path then, why do we say, let go of your desires, be free of your desires? Why do we talk about that? And the reason for that is not that the desire itself is wrong. It's that what happens when we desire something is if it doesn't happen, we become very upset. So for example, we have our beautiful young children in front. I love having kids in the front. Thank you. It's Diwali. Maybe they had a desire for some special Diwali present. For desire, I want this truck, or I want that game, or I want these clothes. No problem with the desire. Maybe it was them who had the desire to come to Rishikesh. Wonderful. Whatever the desire is for, there's no problem. But let's say that we have a desire for a new pair of pants. Okay. That desire itself is not a problem. What happens, though, is we don't get the new pair of pants. Now we are frustrated. We are angry, we are upset, but I told you I wanted a new pair of pants. Or I told you I wanted this truck, or I told you I wanted this book, or I wanted this game. When we're young, the I told you tends to be toward our parents. As we get older, the I told you tends to be toward our loved ones, other members of our family. Sometimes it's even God. But God, you knew. You knew that I needed to have this, or I needed to have that. This is the problem with desires. When they don't get fulfilled, we lose ourselves. And what happens then is it means, as the outer condition is, so my inner condition is. In Hindi, we call the outer condition paristiti. And we say, ki jaise paristiti, as the outer condition, Vese, swastiti, my condition, or man ki sthiti, the condition of my mind, that's a recipe for disaster. Because the outer conditions keep going up and down. It's summer one day, it's winter the next day. It's warm one day, it's cold the next day. Stock market is in one direction one day, another direction another day. People around us are nice to us one day, not nice to us the next day. We like the way we look in the mirror one day, not the way we look the next day. And so when my attachment is to the fulfillment of my desires, that's not in my hands. That's in your hands. I'm happy if you treat me well. I'm happy if you do what I want. We see this again a lot with kids. Our children clean up the room. We're happy with them. They don't clean up their rooms. We are angry. Now what they learn is, what we hope they learn is just, for God's sakes, they'll learn to clean up their rooms. But instead, what they learn is, look at how mom or dad, how their emotional state is so dependent on the location of my toys. My toys are outside, mom is angry. My toys are inside, mom is happy. It's a lesson that goes very, very deep. And the lesson is how I am should depend upon what people around me do. And this is where in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is so specific about relinquishing the fruits of our desires, the fruits of our actions. So I have a desire. I'm going to become CEO of this company. I get up every day early, I go to work. Maybe right now I'm the male guy. But my desire is I should become CEO. Get up every day, go to work early, I work hard. I work honestly. I work sincerely. Nonetheless, a year goes by, 2 years goes by. I'm not getting the promotions that I know that I need. The desire is in my mind, but the fulfillment of that desire is in someone else's hands. That's in the hands of my boss. It's in the hands of my employer. It's in the hands of my supervisor who's writing up what a good mail clerk I am and sending it in to the administration. When they don't do what I want them to do, I'm depressed. And this is where Krishna says we give up the attachment to the fruits of our actions. So when we talk about relinquishing desires, it doesn't mean thou shalt lose your energy for life. Thou shalt become very, very dull and listless. You should never want anything. Don't use your creativity. Don't use your initiative. Don't use your compassion. That's not what Krishna is saying. What Krishna is saying is the only thing in your hands is your actions. Do not set your mental state, your emotional state, to be dependent on what someone else does. So that's what we relinquish. Now, the questioner asked very specifically about our desires for sex, alcohol, drugs, etc. Now, we're not here on earth that we're born with a desire for drugs and alcohol. We're born with a desire for joy, for connection, for peace. The drugs and alcohol, the shopping, come when we're not fulfilling that. When we're not feeling the joy, the peace, the connection in our life. That's when we turn to things like alcohol and drugs, or shopping, or overeating, or indiscriminate sex, or whatever our coping mechanism may be. There's no inherent desire that's a functional desire for drugs and alcohol, or for overeating, or for indiscriminate sex, or for shopping for things you don't need. These are not core desires. They're not even what we would call positive or functional desires. They're desires to numb my awareness of the present moment. That's not even actually a real desire. I'm not going to go too much in that direction, but typically desires are things we're grabbing. Desires are something I really want. I want success. I want love. I want happiness. I want them because I believe they will actually make me happy. Drugs and alcohol are things that actually I'm using to push the world away. They're not a grasping, they're a pushing. I turn to drugs and alcohol only because what I'm really looking to do is push away my present moment. Push away what I'm feeling, push away what I'm going through, push away what I'm experiencing. So if I have a burning desire for drugs or alcohol, or 7 chocolate cakes, or to shop till I drop, the goal is not to become desireless. In those moments, those desires are actually giving us a very important message. It's not, how can I just now push the desires away? The desires are there to push my life away. The answer is not now just push those things away. The answer is, how can I use those specific desires to understand what is going on? What am I looking to push away? What sorrow am I looking to drown? What emptiness am I looking to fill? What moment am I looking to get out of? They are great, great keys to our own introspection. So when you have desires for things that you know are not good for you, the stuff most of us desire is either good for us, love, joy, connection, peace, or is something that we believe is a path to getting love, joy, connection, peace, success, beauty, money, popularity, fame. We all think, through these things I will find happiness. Nobody who has ever been drunk or drugged really thinks that they're going to find great joy through that. You only have to do it once before you wake up the next morning and go, oh my God, what did I do? We do it again because we are pulled by the temporary break it gives us from what we're experiencing in the moment. So these are the two aspects of desires. One is the desires that catalyze our lives. Great, have them. But just don't attach our peace, our joy, our happiness unto whether they actually get fulfilled. Have them with an awareness that I don't really have any control over it. I could have a great desire to spend Sunday at the beach. I could plan a wonderful trip to the beach with my family and my friends. Maybe I plan even like a great bandara. We're going to feed people. We're even going to do service. and then it rains. Well, when I'm planning my trip at the beach, I do so with an awareness on some level that it could rain. I still plan. I still hope. I still use my initiative. I use my creativity to plan this event. But if it rains, I don't end up so miserable that my desire wasn't fulfilled. So this is how we live with those desires. And when we find that what we're desiring is an escape, then ask yourself, what is it I need to escape? And how can I learn to actually be here in this moment? And to change whatever it is I need to escape, rather than looking for drugs or alcohol to get out of the moment. How can I turn the moment into something that I can live with, that I can learn from, that I can grow from? Otherwise, you spend your whole life just drinking your way out of moments, using your way out of moments, shopping your way out of moments. And that's not what we were put here for.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. If you don't know your purpose and you feel empty, how do you find the right or correct path for your life? We open ourselves to the light. If you sit in the dark, and if we turn off all the lights, and I say, where's my way out? Where's the door? I could sit here all night, driving myself crazy, trying to find it. This happens to be a pretty small room. I happen to know the room pretty well. I could probably eventually find the door. But when the room is our world, and when we don't know it very well, and when it's very big, and there's a lot of different ways to go, when we turn on the light, it shows us the path. We don't need to sit in the dark and wonder, where are we going? Where's the door? Where's my path? All we have to do is let in the light, because the minute that light comes, we can see. And that light is there already. Pujya Swamiji gives us so frequently the example of the sun that's shining, but our curtains are drawn. And we pray to the sun, and we do sun salutations, and we chant sun prayers. But the sun is there. It's just that our curtains are drawn. When we're looking for our path, there's two ways to do it. One is we sit in the dark, And we try to figure out where the door is. And there's one door here and another door there, but we don't know where each door is going because we can't read the signs above them. We get turned around. Which way is north, which way is south, which is up, which is down. So we can spend our lives doing that with our hands on the walls looking for the doors. Or instead of that, we can let in the light. And the minute the light is there, we see the doors, we see which one is leading where. We can see who we are. We see where each pathway leads. And then we automatically know where to go. Open ourselves to the light of the divine. And as I said on the banks of Ganga, it doesn't matter how we envision God, what religion we are, what culture we are, it doesn't matter. You can call it the light of truth. You can call it the light of yourself, your capital S self. But instead of continuing to live in the darkness, and instead of continuing to stay asleep and in these dream worlds where it seems so real, but we know it's not, let us use today to open our eyes so that that beautiful light can come. Not just tonight, but a light that stays with us all year long.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM radio network.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
When I broke my foot.
For leaving me alone when I wanted to be alone.
And now, as a grown-up, I'm thankful for being able to take care of you, my dear mom, for taking you to your therapies, for understanding that sometimes you simply want to be alone.
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, and thanks for coming back and joining us for more of inspiration and transformation. When we are seniors in our golden years, what's the way to conduct ourselves? What's the appropriate right way to live that phase of life? In the Indian tradition, as you know, we have the different phases of our lives. And the final phase is this phase that's called sannyas. And that phase of sannyas is a time in which we pull away from things of the world. First, we spend our lives, youth, doing our education, getting ourselves set, our education, our family. Then we retire, start to pull away. And then ultimately in this phase, this sannyas phase of life, we're supposed to pull away fully. But that doesn't necessarily have to be on a physical level. Many times, physically we pull away. We may leave the family and come and move in an ashram. But if our minds are still there, if our attachment is still there, then we're still there. Puja Swamiji always says, just because you're a saint meditating in a cave doesn't necessarily mean that they're free from all of that which binds us. There's many people living in families in the world who are actually living lives that are much more spiritual, much more detached on a spiritual level than some of the spiritual people living in caves. So it's not so much necessarily a matter of physically where you have to be, as what your attention has to be. We've done our task. We've gotten our education, we've accumulated money, we've had our family, we've raised our children, we've educated them, we've given them careers, we've gotten them married. It's a cycle that never ends. There's a great story of a disciple and his guru, and the disciple is living in an ashram with his guru, and he says to the guru, I'm living here. And he was a young disciple. He says, I'm living here, but my mind is really on the outer world. I want to know, what's it like? What would it be like to, have a family and live in that world? So I think, he says, I'm thinking, Guruji, maybe I should go. I'll just experience it once, and then I'm going to come right back. But he said, I want my mind to at least know what it's like. Otherwise, maybe I'll have regrets my whole life. So the Guru says, Chalo, okay. Take 10 years. Take 10 years. Go out. Get yourself married. Have your family. Do your thing. In 10 years, come back. So 10 years later, of course he doesn't come back. But 10 years later, at his house, there's a knock on the door. And his wife answers the door, and there's this old man asking for her husband. So the husband comes and immediately recognizes his guru, falls at his guru's feet, and the guru says, okay, now come with me. And the guy says, no, I can't, because you see, my children, they're very young. My poor wife, she'd be all alone. What's she going to do? 3 mouths to feed. The kids are toddlers. You can see that yourself. We just got our house. I need, just give me another 5 years. Just to get them settled. Just let the kids grow a little more. I'll leave my wife some money in the bank. So the Guru goes away. He gives him not 5 years, he gives him 10 years. 10 years later, he comes back, says to the man, okay, now what? Man says, oh God, I'd love to come, but now we've got grandkids and they're babies and they really need me because my son, he's out working and he's out all day long and they really need somebody to take care of the grandkids. Just a few more years. 5 years later, the Guru comes back and immediately sees the man's not there, but there's this dog in front of the house, and he recognizes in the dog that this is his disciple. And he says, now what? And the disciple says, yes, I died and I've been reincarnated as this dog to protect them, but I have to stay here just another couple years because they're doing very well, but now they have so many enemies and everybody's out to get them, and that's why I'm here as this dog to protect them. Guruji, just another couple years. Guru goes, he comes back a few years later, and he knocks on the door, and these young children come and answer the door. And the Guru says, go upstairs. He says, upstairs, near where that safe is. He said, you have a safe upstairs? And the children said, yes, I know, we know where it is. And he says, in the wall next to the safe, you will find a hole in the wall. In the hole in that wall, there is a snake. Bring me that snake. Do not kill it, but just break its back so that he doesn't hurt you. And then bring me that snake. So the children, of course, are very surprised, but they do what this old saint tells them to do. They go in, they break the back of the snake, they bring it, and they say, but how did you know? I mean, you've never been to our house before. How did you know there was a snake in a hole in the wall? The Guru says, no problem, just go back inside. He takes the snake, he slings it over his back, and he walks away. And as he walks away, he speaks to his disciple now in the form of the snake. And he says, see, he said, there's no end. You came back now as the snake to protect the wealth. First it was the wife and the kids, then it was the grandkids, then you needed to come back as a dog to take care. Now it's a snake to protect the wealth, to be near the safe. There's no end. There's no such thing as just one more time, as just another year. You have to draw that line, because life doesn't stop. 1 minute it's the spouse, then it's the kids, then it's the grandkids, then it's the grandkids' wedding, then it's the grandkids' something or other. And so when we reach this phase of life, the teaching is a renunciation. But what's important is that doesn't mean you abandon them. And this is a really important distinction. It doesn't mean I don't see you, I don't talk to you, I don't care about you, I forget your birthdays. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that inside me, I am not stuck. I am not sitting in my meditation. I'm unable to meditate because I'm wondering how my grandson is doing on his math exam today. I tutored him last night. Did he really remember it all? Did he not remember it? I hope he remembers it. Oh, I forgot to give him that very special trick to do long division. And then your whole meditation is gone. So it's much more an inner state of renunciation. If you can come and live in an ashram, nothing like it. That's the ideal situation. You come, you live out the golden years in sadhana, in seva. You've spent your whole life working for yourself, for your family. Now you give your energy and your experience and your expertise for the world. Your family expands. When we talk about sannyas being a renunciation of family, it doesn't literally mean I have no family. What it means is the world is my family. I've gone from having a family of 2 or 4 to having a family of all of creation. 7 billion humans, as many animals, as many plants. Doesn't mean I don't care about anything. It means I care about everyone. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is a family. Up until the sannyas phase, my family is my family, my blood family. When I take sannyas, the world becomes my family. So this is why the tradition says you come to an ashram, you do your sadhana, you do your seva, you serve the world. The family will take care of itself. But it doesn't mean that you have to cut them off entirely. They come and visit, you go and visit. But just that there should be a very beautiful and a very natural stage of preparation for departure from the planet. Otherwise, when our physical body departs, if we're still that attached, if we haven't let go of the minute-to-minute, moment-to-moment attachment to the form, then we're not able to let go when death comes. And this is what creates, literally the bondage of the soul. When they talk about the soul being stuck, not being able to really to go, to attain that union with God, to go on its journey. It happens when we're too stuck here. And so the phase of sannyas is sort of a preparatory phase of God, whether I've got 2 years left or 20 years left. These are my golden years. At some point, I'm going to return to you. At some point, my form is going to change again. It's changed from young boy to young man, to middle-aged man, to old man. Then it's going to change to ashes. Another change of form. And I need to prepare myself for that. And that's what this phase of sannyas does. So, if you can do it, nothing like it. It becomes a benefit to your own spiritual growth, to your preparation for that final transformation. And you're able to be a boon, a benefit to the whole world, where you've been a benefit to your family. Now you're able to be a benefit to the global family. And the rest of the family will take care of themselves. We hear so many youth all the time say, I don't need their money. I want to make it on my own. So many youth these days say, yeah, I know that, mom and dad have set me up in this business. My dad, my uncle, they've got this business. But I don't want their business. I don't want their money. I want to do it on my own. I want to make it on my own. This is the youth of today. So they're set in so many ways. And now it's time for us to shift that focus onto our spiritual growth and onto service of the whole world. This is actually something that applies in the spirit of it to all of the phases of our life. There's not a phase of our life where we're taught you should be singularly attached to the things of this world. We work for them, but not to get attached to them, whatever phase we're in. Ultimately, if we haven't learned it before, we learn it in sannyas. But ideally, we learn it even in the earlier phases. Ideally, even in the householder stage. We're able to be working, to be serving, to have the family, to be connected, to be doing our duty, without being attached in a way that it ends up thwarting the actual purpose of what we came here for, which is our own awakening. Our love, our relationships, our duty, our karma can be a way of expanding our consciousness. A great path to awakening. But if we get stuck, then it actually thwarts that progress. And so all of this is actually stuff for the other phases as well.
This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week. And I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.